Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video, and Blizzard has finally delivered its September 5th. Everybody on Twitter was saying that it isn't coming, and they're going to quit the game if it doesn't come, and thankfully it did come, although maybe not for some players. Maybe the game would have been better off if some of them did end up quitting. Who really knows? We won't name names, but here we go. It's live. We want to see what's happening. Obviously, there's some big name classes that we're expecting to get nerfed in this round of changes, so let's see how big it actually is. Blood Death Knights are getting a 6% damage buff overall and a 10% Bone Shield Armor buff. This is obviously targeted towards PvE. These first rounds of changes are PvE with considerations to PvP as well. For Balanced Druid, these guys are bottom of the meter in PvE, so I'm not surprised to see if these are buffs. 5% damage overall, which will be applied to PvP though. Ornaments of the Mother Eagle 2-set bonus. Starfire damage increased by 15 to 20%. Honestly, that buff is probably fine considering this hero talent build, Elune, is just like not that good, so buffing that hero tree is probably fine. Elune's Chosen, Boundless Moonlight's Fury of Elune flash damage though has been reduced by 10%, and for Elune's Chosen, minor moon damage has been reduced by 10%, so it's like a bit of a trade-off. Starfire a little bit more damage, but it looks like some of your Fury generation abilities are going to do a little bit less. This is really not going to... This honestly means it's a buff overall until we see what the PvP changes say, but this is pretty non-consequential for PvP. I think this is more targeted towards like splash AoE damage in PvE. Augmentation, Scale Commander, Bombardment damage increased by 25%. I've seen 0 augmentation evokers so far, so I know they can cheesy one-shot. I don't know if they're still a Cheeto one-shot, but that's going to make them Cheeto one-shot harder, if they can. For Devastation, Deep Breath damage is being increased by 20%, but not in PvP. Command Squadron 2-piece bonus Disintegrate is being increased by 10%, so a very small buff, very minuscule buff to Devastation. For Preservation, Deep Breath damage is being increased by 20%, but not in PvP, which again isn't surprising because Preservation evoker damage is quite high at the moment, at least in PvP. For Beast Mastery, 4% damage buff overall, but not in PvP. Death Blow has been updated. Kill Command's chance to grant Death Blow to Beast Mastery Hunter increased by 20%, up from 10%. So I know Kill Shot kind of is poopy for some specs. I think is it poopy for Beast Mastery? Because I think that's the one that it's poopy for. So I don't know how big of a deal this one honestly is. Dark Ranger, the Bell's Tolls damage is being increased to 10% from 6. Dark Ranger Phantom Pain damage is being increased to 45, up from 30. And Bleak Powder damage is being increased to 25%, but not in PvP. We all remember when Bleak Powder was bugged out and was doing disgustingly high damage. So this is very, again, non-consequential to PvP for Beast Mastery. For Mistweaver, Master of Harmony fixed an issue that caused Ancient Teachings healing to not be increased by Coalescence. I don't play a lot of Mistweaver to know how big of a deal that is. I know Ancient Teachings, I believe, is a Fistweaver mechanic, so having to, we saw Fury Warrior bump up a lot of power when they fixed a bug that was similar language to this. So this could be huge, could not be huge. Mistweaver monks, let me know in the comments down below. Definitely something to keep an eye on just in case. For Holy, which is surprising because I think Fistweaver at the moment PvP is doing really well, so maybe this isn't going to be that big of a deal if they didn't counteract it. Holy Priest, Heal is getting a 12% increase, but not in PvP, which is, again, seems kind of surprising because I feel like Heal is not even close to like the #1 healing output for Holy in PvP. Halo is getting a 40% increase, trying to give you a little bit more AoE healing. For Archon, surprising to see them. Actually, no, Archon's the weaker one, so they're trying to buff Archon seemingly with this. I don't know if it's going to be enough because the Oracle set bonus is just so good. But Empowered Surges increase the healing done by flash heals affected by Surge of Light by 45, so your instant flashes heal a little bit more. A little bit of extra Halo healing. This is probably not going to matter in PvP. This is probably a bigger deal in PvP. I don't know if it's enough to swing you from Oracle with the current set bonuses, especially considering we all get our 4 set bonuses. So again, not really a huge deal so far from these PvE changes in PvP aside from the Boomkin damage. Discipline's getting some nice buffs. Atonement healing for 33% of the damage done, up from 28, and Atonement healing is increased by 100% outside of raid. So wait, what? Does it? I don't. The math on this is so difficult for me to understand to begin with because this makes me think Atonement healing is getting nerfed because Atonement healing is increased by 125% out of raids. Now it's only 100%, but then they made Atonement heal for 33% of the damage, up from 28. So I don't know if that did anything, or if it just these changes just counter each other out, or it's a slight nerf to Atonement maybe, at worst. But obviously PvP changes here. This is where we're expecting to see some big things because I think PvP was having much bigger balance issues than PvE at the moment. They're going to be increasing stamina again by 5% for all classes with the PvP trinket set bonus. This is already having some pretty big impacts on survivability for classes that scale off HP, like druids with bear form, warlocks with dark pact. So got to keep an eye on that, because this scaling could definitely open up a lot more viability to a lot more specializations. Frost Death Knight shattering blade damage is nerfed by 50%, but your Frost Fever damage is being increased by 15%. I believe Frost Fever is your dot. I might be mixing that up. So a little bit less spike, a little bit more sustain. Honestly, in the current meta, that's probably going to be a pretty sizable... it's probably... maybe you don't even feel this at all, to be honest. For Feral Druid, you're getting a 4% damage increase. Remember when they give you the 8%? They're like, now we're taking that away, and then it'll give it... And now you get to keep half. You get half of what they were going to give you originally. Because Feral's been kind of falling off for a bit, so I'm not surprised to see that. For Boomkin, Keeper of the Grove, Dream Burst damage is being reduced by 50%. That's a massive nerf. That's like your big window to basically destroy a target as Keeper of the Grove. It's where your Wrath is empowered from your Force of Nature to explode with an extra hit. That could make people not play Keeper of the Grove anymore. That's a big enough nerf that they might not play it. Alun's Chosen, Lunar Calling, increases Starfire damage to its primary target by 80%, down from 128. So they're also nerfing Alun's Chosen. So burst damage overall for Boomkin is getting completely canned, which means you might just be a utility support Cyclone bot. That's very big on both, and I don't even know how many people are really playing Alun's Chosen. And it got like really... I mean, to be fair, we did get 5% overall. Maybe 5% on Star Surge, and obviously it'll be 5% on Dream Burst, so it's only like 45. That's not the exact math on that. Maybe it'll be fine. But this is like the big window, the one-shot window, which is obviously what players were talking about. So we'll see if they targeted the one-shot window on any other specs, but that's definitely a big one. Preservation, Chrono Flame's maximum damage increase on the Force piece is reduced to 325% of spell power, down from 450. So this is targeting the damage on Preservation Evoker from the set bonus. Again, bringing down like that big burst window for a lot of classes where you're just getting one shot. So I think it makes sense. It falls in line with that. Flanking Strike is also getting its damage decreased by 20% in PvP combat. That's the one where you can get the pet to crit for like 7 million damage when you strike with yourself and your pet in synergy. So I think that's a good one to go after. I think Survival will still be good even without being able to do that. But we don't see any nerfs to Marksman Hunter. Black Arrow is just chilling at 8 million crits, I guess. Okay. No other changes to any Hunter specs. Arcane, this is one everybody was waiting, I think, to see. So Arcane Harmony is now increasing the damage of Arcane see, this is the direction I saw Raikou making a tweet about, where he's like, I really hope they don't nerf everything except Nether Flux, and then you just have to play Nether Flux, because this looks like that's the direction, at least so far. So this talent from Arcane Harmony is only going to increase your damage by 2% per stack, down from 5, which is a big nerf. Intuition now increases the damage of Arcane Barrage by 20%, down from 50. They're targeting everything except Nether Flux so far. Improved Touch of the Magi now causes Nether Flux to increase damage of your next spell by an additional 10%, down from 25. Oh my god. All damage, although, is increased by 6%. It's not really a lot to compensate for how much you're getting destroyed on burst. I guess it makes sense when you're hitting for 20 million. It's going to have to get trimmed down, but I really think they should have just pruned Nether Flux. Sun Fury, Glorious Incandescence now increases the damage of Arcane Barrage by 10%, down from 20. It's one of those things where it's like you tried something, it completely blew the game out of the water, and now you're just like trying to force it to work. And maybe it works, but if it doesn't, I think a much better direction would be to revert all of these and just remove Nether Flux. Sun Fury, Meteorites, damage from Arcane Phoenix reduced by 38%, so even nerfing the Sun Fury burst as well. The Greater Pyro is reduced by 30% from your Sun Fury Eagle, and the Arcane Surge damage is getting nerfed by 33%. So I would find it very hard to believe if Arcane is hitting you for over 10 million damage on Tuesday. I don't know how hard it's going to hit you, because this is a lot of math to calculate all at once, but I would think that it's going to be incredibly unlikely that it hits for over 10 million. But we'll have to see. For Mistweaver Monks, you guys are not going untouched. Rushing Wind Kick damage is being decreased by 50%. It's weird to me that they nerfed healer damage output before marksman one-shot damage. Okay. And you got the 50% nerf seems pretty big. And then Ret Paladins only get a 15% nerf on Hammer of Light. Again, the issue is with their set bonus, targeting the baseline ability instead of the set bonus. This is just like one of those things where they got to keep a grocery list of every ability they nerfed because of a set bonus and then revert those nerfs on the following patch when the set bonus is no longer relevant. This is honestly a slap on the wrist relative to what Arcane got hit by and what Mistweaver got hit by, what everything got hit by so far. Rhett is getting a slap on the wrist. Rhett is still at the top of the ladder for sure. Discipline is happily getting some buffs on Powered Shield, though. 20% more absorption. That will be gladly met for the Discipline Priest players. Subtlety Rogue is seeing its burst damage go down, with Shadow Blades only providing 5% additional damage down from 10. In compensation, you're getting 6% overall. So it's, in reality, your Shadow Blades is doing the same, plus now all of your other abilities are doing 6% more. So yeah, I think that's fair to take that into account, that maybe the one-shot damage might be too high, but they need, the overall damage is low, bring it up a bit. I mean, mostly Subtlety Rogue is suffering from the fact that it doesn't have access to the Fate-bound hero talent tree that every Assassination Rogue and Outlaw Rogue is abusing with coins. I'm honestly surprised they didn't target the coin damage nerf at all for like Assassination. Elemental Shaman is getting a buff here, so maybe they're going in the direction of buff the weak instead of nerf the strong, because Earthshock is getting a 15% damage buff, and Tempest is getting a 10% damage buff as Elemental. Weird to see Ellie get buffed and not Enhance. I think Ellie is not in that great of a spot. This is sizable for Earthshock, 15%. Arms Warrior also getting a 4% damage increase. I felt like Arms was starting to take over Fury, so I'm kind of surprised that they're nerfing or buffing Arms first. But maybe we'll see. Maybe the changes they made to Fury, because I'm going to be playing Fury here now on stream, and we're going to be testing that out. So as I get more gear, hopefully we'll be able to see the full extent of it. So some nice changes, I'll say. As far as buffs, the buffed classes, these are nice buffs, right? These are good buffs. They're targeting good abilities on classes that were definitely falling behind the rest of them. I think some of the one-shots were definitely well targeted. They completely didn't get Assassination or Marksman Hunter, so those are two specs I would keep my eye on, at least for Tuesday, for being kind of like taking over. And there's also probably some sleeper specs that we don't even know, because we're just getting crypt for 10 million barrages and we can't even figure it out. So, but that's it for the changes here. That's it for this update. They definitely got a lot of the big ones, and I think the buffs to the other classes were honestly unexpected. I thought they were only going to nerf one shots, so I think that should be exciting, at least for people who play those specs or are interested in playing those specs. But that's it for me here in today's video. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Okay guys, I know I just said the video is over, but there were randomly more notes that weren't included in the original round of notes, and now we're going to review them. So basically, the first one is, Boomkin's not getting any of these PvE buffs in PvP. Boomkin's getting dunked on. You're getting dunked on! Alright, we can confirm the dunking. There is no compensation for it. You are a donut and you are getting dunked. Goodbye, Boomkins. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. You can tell I'm a boomer. I immediately outed myself with that statement. The next round of changes, to my understanding, is that there are buffs for Frost Mage. So Frost Mage Glacial Spike is getting a 40%. They stole all of our damage. They stole the boomy damage. They gave it to the Frost Mages. And they gave you 5% overall, which also applies to Glacial Spike. So it's like 45% damage buff to Glacial Spike. It's probably fine, because Frost is definitely on the lower end, but Arcane got to be good for like a week, and now Frost is probably taking over again, so feels bad, man. And now it is officially the end of the video until they randomly decide, oh crap, no, wait, we forgot that one. And it's going to be like a Black Arrow nerf to Marksmanship Hunter or something. And if it does, I'll try to let you guys know in the comments of the video, unless it happens within the next 5 seconds that I can edit the video again. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.